Please adhere to YouTube select guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals. Alright, so today I'm going to be drinking Snoop Dogg's wine for the first time. To be precise, what I have with me today is a bottle of the 19 Crimes Cali Red 2020, which was first introduced in 2020 and which was made by the Australian wine brand 19 Crimes in collaboration with Snoop Dogg, well-known celebrity who has done a cook show with convicted felon Martha Stewart. And of course, Snoop Dogg is well known for other endeavors he's done over the years as well. This bottle cost me $10.99 USD at a local grocery store. And for that price, I got 750 milliliters of red wine with an ABV of 13.5%. And I got a wine that was made with a blend of Petite Siraya, Zinfandel, and Merlot grapes. Although since I'm not a wine connoisseur per se, I don't know exactly what that actually means. But what I do know is that I am quite excited for this experience today, because I want to find out just how Snoop Dogg's wine actually is for the very first time. Will it be good? Will it be bad? What will it actually be like? And will I enjoy it? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. And I'm looking forward to, in general, drinking some alcohol today because I want some alcohol. But without further ado, I do suppose I should probably go ahead and quickly take a look at the, look at the bottle. Then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and get the cap all off, smell this wine for the first time, and find out just what Snoop Dogg's wine actually smells like. And then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and pour some in a glass I have with me today, take a sip, and, taste it, and find out whether I actually like this wine or not. And after all that, I'm going to give you all my final thoughts on this wine, and I'm going to give it a rating as well. But first off, as said, we've got to go over the look of the bottle, the look of Snoop Dogg's wine. And we can see overall, it's a pretty normal look for a wine bottle. Really nothing too crazy going on by any means. We get a pretty long 750 milliliter bottle of wine with a very dark color to it. We get some black up here, a black metal ring going around the neck of the bottle. We get a black cap right here. We get some labels and everything like that kind of thing. This is a pretty normal shaped and normal looking wine bottle. Overall, it's really nothing too crazy when it comes to just bottles and everything like that kind of thing. But overall, not a bad look by any means, especially when you take a look at the details on the labels. But when it comes down to the shape of the bottle itself, this is pretty normal. And when you take a look at the color of the bottle, this is pretty normal overall. Let's go ahead and start off with the top of the bottle. As said, we can see there is a black cap and a black ring just right here. On top of the cap, we get a gold coat of arms right there lying on either side, a little bit of a shield in the center, a crown up top, and a little bit of a ribbon going down the bottom. I do suppose this might be the 19 Crimes coat of arms or something along those lines, but I cannot say anything for sure. On the metal ring going around the neck of the bottle, we can see we get a black background with some gold text on it, and this gold text is Snoop Dogg's signature. We can see it just says Snoop right there, and Snoop right there for a total of 3 times. And that's really all that's going on with the top of the bottle. And we could see the wine kind of swooshing around inside the bottle just right there as well, right below this metal sort of neck piece ends. And that's pretty much all that's going on with the top of the bottle. Let's go ahead and move on to the actual labels themselves now, I do suppose. So what does this label actually look like? Well, it's a little bit more rusticated than not, I definitely have to say. It's trying to look a little bit vintage, and to emphasize that, it has some holes in the top to make sure it's like pulled off roughly, and it's also got a more sort of yellowed, beige, white look than not, I would have to say, with some inconsistencies, a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, a little bit darker over here kind of thing. So it's definitely got that sort of like vintage-esque or sort of rustic-esque look to it kind of thing. Of course, it's not genuinely actually rustic by any means. It is a intended design, but it does look a little bit more rustic than not due to that intention in the design. Of course, at the very top, we can see we get a bronze 19 Crimes logo right there, and above that we get the brand's coat of arms. This text is all in a sort of, I'd have to say, semi-metallic, semi-shiny, sort of bronze color, and it's also recessed just a little bit into the label itself, which is something that I do appreciate. We can see there's a little bit of text over here, some censorship as well, and that's a reoccurring theme on the labels of this bottle, but just says LAL-AV- and then something that's censored. Don't know exactly what that says, I will acknowledge, but under all of this text right here we get a black line, and then we move on to this text right here, which is slightly diagonal. It's not quite horizontal by any means. It's at a little bit of a slant, I will acknowledge, and this is in a, I would have to say, dark red, almost burgundy wine sort of color. Of course, this is a red wine, and they want to emphasize that, so they've got the text Cali Red in red, of course, and this text looks like it was written with a typewriter, but it looks like some of the letters on the typewriter had just a little bit too much ink on them. As we could see, the R right here is very light, but the D over here is extremely bold, so there's a little bit of inconsistency with that going on, and it all looks like it's striked through as well. Not quite censored per se, but striked through just to make it look a little bit more rustic and old-timey than not, I do suppose. Maybe, not exactly sure, but yep, just says Cali Red right here. And one thing I like about this text is that it is indeed embossed, so certainly no complaints on my behalf about that. We can see there's a little bit of a trademark text right there as well that's very small, so as not to take away from the look of the bottle. They don't want to take away from the rusticated look of the bottle, so all trademark texts on this and everything like that are extremely small, I will acknowledge. And below this Cali Red text, which actually I'm just now realizing I thought it was at a sort of horizontal diagonal, but I'm actually just now realizing it's actually not the text itself that's on a diagonal. It's actually the top of this image right here. The top of this image itself, yeah, it just kind of slants down just a little bit, but this text is actually just about horizontal through and through. Yeah, it was a little bit tricking my eyes. It was tricking my eyes just a little bit, I will acknowledge, but no complaints on my behalf. That's something I don't mind having happened. It definitely makes this packaging just look a little bit more interesting than not, if you ask me. But yeah, just says Cali Red right there, horizontally, as I now know, with this image right here being flat on the bottom, but a little bit diagonal on the top. I do suppose we could see a little bit of that sort of beige border right here, but no border on the other side. And this image itself is an image of Snoop Dogg, the man himself, who has done a cooking show with convicted felon Martha Stewart, and 19 Crimes does indeed have a Martha Stewart wine as well, which makes sense because Martha Stewart, she is a convicted felon after all. Snoop Dogg, he is a good law-abiding citizen. Martha Stewart, she's a convicted felon, so you know... You know, it really does make sense for her to have a 19 Crimes wine, I will acknowledge. And since they did the cooking show together, it makes sense for both of them to have their own version of wine from this brand, I will acknowledge. But yeah, we can see this black and beige sort of design right here kind of thing. This image of Snoop Dogg, to say it another way, to say it correctly. We could see he's wearing a hoodie, he's got the drip on, and we could see all of the shadows are very much, well, very prominent. All of the shadows are very prominent. We can see he's got a little bit of a sweater on and everything like that kind of thing. And overall, yeah, pretty good image, I will acknowledge. Pretty good image quality as well. And moving on below this image, we can see there's another black line right there. And then we get some text over here, some of which is slightly censored. And we get the 19 Crimes coat of arms once again right there as well. Just has a little bit of a list right there. Just says name, alcohol by content, contents, and origin. So the name, which is slightly censored, just says Snoop Dogg right there, of course. And this sort of censored bar right here has a little bit of a glossy, sticky feel to it, which is something I do appreciate. There's a little bit of texture change on this label with the 19 Crimes, with this being embossed, and then with this having a completely different texture than the actual label itself kind of thing, which is very much just a like slightly rough sort of textured paper. This is kind of glossy, so it's a little bit different, and that's something I do quite appreciate. I really do like different textures on my packaging, I will acknowledge. But yeah, it just says a name, Snoop Dogg, with that being slightly censored. Just says alcohol by content is 13.5%, content 750 milliliters, and then origin is in Cali F, of course, California, but the rest of that was censored, as we can see. And yeah, that's really all that's going on with the label on the front of the bottle. Overall, looks pretty good in my personal opinion. Definitely a good looking bottle that emphasizes that this is made by 19 Crimes, and it's a good looking bottle that emphasizes that this is indeed Snoop Dogg's wine, as of course Snoop Dogg is, well, featured very prominently on the front of this bottle. And yeah, that's really all that's going on with the front of this bottle. Nothing too much else going on, I will acknowledge. Moving on to the back of the bottle, we can see another label that is a little bit less rusticated looking, I will acknowledge. This one, it's a little bit lighter in my personal opinion, and there's also not like pieces taken out of the top or anything like that kind of thing. And so this looks a little bit less rusticated, but it has a sort of rusticated texture to it. It's still got that sort of off-white, beigey sort of background color to it overall. No embossment for the Cali red text up here, sadly, but yeah, it just says in black 19 Crimes right there, Cali red, in the same way it says it on the front of the bottle right there. And then under that just says California red wine, and then under that we get a market segmentation spiel all in black that looks like it was written with a typewriter. That's very much the aesthetic they're going for with this bottle. Just says 19 Crimes tells the true story of excuse me, I'm getting my words all jumbled up. Just says 19 Crimes tells the true story of rule breakers who beat the odds, overcame adversity, and went on to become folk heroes in their society. This spirit lives on today through innovators and culture creators like Cali's own Snoop Dogg. A leader in contemporary pop culture, Snoop embodies the timeless values of the 19 Crimes rogues who came before him. To learn more, visit their website, and then they have a QR code as well, which does take away from the sort of rusticated look a little bit in my personal opinion, but just says, scan here to bring Snoop to life. I have to scan there to bring Snoop Dogg to life? I thought he was already alive, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God, his fate rests in my hands. That I will acknowledge is a huge responsibility. I'm not responsible enough for that, so I'm gonna have to hand off this bottle to somebody else who is more responsible than me after I finish drinking this bottle. But under all of this, it just says vinted and bottled. I guess vinted is a name for like making wine, but just says vinted and bottled by 19 Crimes, Sonoma, California. Contains sulfites, 13.5% alcohol per volume, 750 milliliters, and it just says per 5 fluid ounces. Average analysis is 125 calories, 4.6 grams of carbohydrates, 0 grams of protein, and 0 grams of fat. We get the Surgeon General warning right there as well, which just says, according to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcohol during pregnancy because of the risk of birth defects. And then it just goes on to say that consumption of alcoholic beverages impairs your ability to drive a car or operate machinery and may cause health problems. Well, now that sounds like a bet, now doesn't it? Will this actually impair my ability to drive a car? Well, there's only one way to find out now, isn't there? Now that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We got a little bit of a bottle rebate text right there, and then the barcode right there. And yeah, that's really all that's going on with the look of this bottle. Taking a look at the bottom of it, really nothing going on kind of thing. A little bit of a divot right there with a little bit of texture going on the bottom. And yeah, that's pretty much the general look of this bottle as a whole. Really nothing else to say, frankly put. Overall, good looking bottle. Definitely heavy on the marketing without a doubt, but why wouldn't you be heavy on the marketing when you've done a collaboration with Snoop Dogg? Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cap all off, and let's go ahead and smell Snoop Dogg's wine for the first time. So let's go ahead and get the cap off if I can. I'm already smelling wine. I'm already smelling wine, and ooh, we got a little bit of a design On the top, we get, I think this is Snoop Dogg once again. We get Snoop Dogg once again inside the cap itself. I think that's Snoop Dogg. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think that's Snoop Dogg. Maybe. Not exactly sure. Do correct me if I'm wrong. But we get a little bit of a design on the inside of the lid. And we can see that this is very much a green dark bottle. It's not red dark by any means, but it is green dark without a doubt. Let's go and smell this real quick. Yep, smells like red wine. I gotta admit, it does smell like red wine. And I would have to say I'm getting that of a sort of blackberry, blueberry sort of smell. Like this smells less like a grape wine to me and more like a blueberry wine. Like I've had blueberry wine slushies before, and this very much reminds me of the smell of that. Blueberry wine slushies and just wine slushies in general, I gotta admit, they're so good. Especially on like a hot summer's day. Man, wine slushies go hard. I love getting white girl wasted, not gonna lie, y'all. But yeah, this really does remind me more of a like blueberry or sort of blackberry wine than an actual like just normal grape wine. And I've heard that's something you can experience from a red wine sometimes. I have heard that that is something you can experience. But overall, yeah, I'd have to say I'm getting a smell of, I would have to say, like, blueberries, blackberries, and a little bit of, like, red grape as well kind of thing. Just, like, blueberry, blackberry, red grape kind of smell. Overall, smells pretty good in my personal opinion. Is there anything else I'm noticing? I do feel like there is something else I'm noticing. Getting a little bit of a bready scent, I would say. And then, is there anything else? The smell, it does smell pretty good, I gotta admit. Yeah, how does it smell? Yeah, blueberry, blackberry, red grape, a little bit of bread. Excuse me, just had a little bit of a I haven't even gotten drinking any alcohol today yet, and I'm already burping. Excuse me, oh my goodness. And I feel like there's something else going on as well, and I want to pinpoint what that something else is. Like there's that sort of bready scent in there. But what is that other scent? There's a scent other than just that breadiness with the fruit sort of scent. I don't want to say it's chocolate. Although there's definitely like some chocolate undertones going on to the smell, I do suppose. I don't know, it kind of comes across like, I want to say yeast. It kind of comes across like a sort of yeasty scent. Like a really nice sourdough, I guess it's not just bready, but it's like a really nice yeasty sourdough. I guess is kind of really the right way of putting it. Yeah, overall, blueberry, blackberry, a little bit of red grape, a little bit of a sort of really nice yeasty sourdough, and maybe the slightest undertone of chocolate. Overall, this smells pretty nice in my personal opinion. I wouldn't want a candle of this, but it smells pretty good, I will admit, especially for an alcoholic beverage. Let's go ahead and grab my glass I have with me today, and let's go ahead and pour myself a glass. I do suppose pour myself my first ever glass of Snoop Dogg's wine. Yes, sir, yes, sir. So let's go ahead and, how much do I want? You know, I'm gonna start with that much. I'm gonna start with that much, I do think. And, I am real quick, before I go ahead and smell the wine in my glass, I'm gonna grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail real quick. The sun's kind of going down. I started this video a bit late, so I should probably grab a thumbnail while the lighting is still a bit better than not. So let's go ahead and see if I can do that real quick. Let's see. Get the Snoop Dogg wine, get the glass in the image as well. What are we thinking? Something like that? Ooh, yeah, I'm thinking something like that. Just trying to grab a good thumbnail, you know what I'm saying? Got to go for the crazy face just a little bit. Hopefully one of those will do as a thumbnail. Worst case scenario, I can grab myself a thumbnail at another time, I do suppose, or try again a little bit later on in the video. But now that I've poured myself a glass of Snoop Dogg's wine for the very first time, let's go ahead and take a smell in the glass real quick. You know, I'm trying to be a wine connoisseur. Gotta... Overall, I mean, like, smells pretty good if you ask me. Smells pretty good if you ask me. And I'd have to say that the smell that I was getting previously is still very much the smell I've got now, but I would have to say that sort of blueberry, blackberry sort of smell has definitely taken the forefront just a little bit more, with the sort of red grape and yeasty bread kind of taking the back burner. And I have to say that chocolate is a little bit more elevated now that's actually in the glass. Let's smell again. Yeah, I would say that blueberry, that blackberry sort of scent is definitely still up top. That chocolate's like number 3 now. Then after that, we get a little bit of that sort of red grape. And then after that, we're getting a little bit of that sort of bready, sort of sourdoughy, yeasty scent, but it's actually quite mild now that my wine is in the glass. It's actually quite mild now, I will acknowledge. Had to do it. Had to grab another one. Y'all thought I was done grabbing a thumbnail? Nah. We grabbing another one. Hopefully one of those will do. Alrighty though. Well, I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and actually get to drinking Snoop Dogg's wine for the first time now, shouldn't I? I've gone over the look of the bottle. I've gone over the scent, the smell of the wine. There's only one more thing left for me to do, and that's to take a sip and find out just how Snoop Dogg's wine actually is. Will it be good? Will it be bad? Will I like it? And what will it be like? Well, without further ado, let's go and find out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Cheers, y'all. Cheers, y'all. Cheers, y'all. Cheers, y'all. POV. You're watching a video through a glass of wine. Cheers, y'all. Without further ado, let's get drinking. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. I think I need some alcohol. I'm getting more all jumbled up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Right off the bat, initial impressions off the first sip. Quite smooth. Sweet and sour going on. And overall, decent mouthfeel in my personal opinion. And overall, very dark tasting. Yeah, overall, I gotta admit, pretty solid right off the bat. I feel like I gotta sneeze. Oh my god, I feel like I gotta sneeze. Oh well. But yeah, pretty solid right off the bat. Pretty solid, I will acknowledge. Overall flavor I'm experiencing initially is kind of got that... that sort of blackberry, I would say, is kind of up top in the flavor, with that blueberry underneath, a little bit of that sort of red grape, and trying to get my jacket on. And I would say I'm not really getting any sort of a bready sort of flavor right now. Not like I smelled right out of the bottle, that's for sure. And I would definitely have to say there's a slight bit of chocolate in there. There's definitely a slight bit of chocolate in, like, the very background, without a doubt. Overall, not pretty good tasting. Pretty good tasting right off the bat, I will acknowledge. Can't complain. And overall, very much, would I quantify this as being a dry wine or as a wet wine, a sweet wine? I would quantify this as being a semi-dry wine, I'd say. I would quantify this as being a semi-dry, I would say. Yeah, I think a semi-dry is the right qualification, the right quantification to use for Snoop Dogg's wine, in my personal opinion. It's not like overly sweet like Moscato, in my personal opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of Moscato. It's just way too sweet for me. But this is more of a semi-dry, which is something I do appreciate. I do quite like my semi-dry alcohol. And that's exactly what I'm getting from this right here. Yeah, overall, gotta admit, solid. I mean, like, there's nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy. I'm not getting, like, how do I put this? I'm not getting, like, an insane amount of flavors on my palate or anything like that kind of thing. And the flavors that are there aren't really changing. They're just becoming more intense. But it's just a nice, well-rounded flavor, semi-dry, and I mean, like, it's pretty solid kind of thing. When I was doing research for this video, I saw mixed things online about the 19 Crimes Cali Red. Some people said they liked it. Some people said they very much did not. It really seemed to be mixed things, I will acknowledge. My overall take, just after having sipped on it just a little bit, is that it's a semi-dry wine, and if you're not a semi-dry person, it's not going to be for you. But it's a semi-dry wine with a good, distinct flavor profile. That is solid, but you're not gonna get like a crazy experience by any means, kind of thing. It's an $11 bottle of wine. You're not gonna get like, oh my god, that flavor is just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. That's not what you're getting from this bottle. That's not what I'm getting from this bottle by any means. And if you go into this bottle expecting that, you might not end up enjoying this bottle. But if you go into this bottle just expecting a solid, well-rounded wine that isn't anything too crazy, that's exactly what I seem to be drinking today, and so as such, I'd say that's an accurate way of thinking, frankly put. Took maybe too big of a sip there. But overall, first class, pretty good. I got a little bit of a buzz going. I got no complaints. Yeah, smooth as well. Not the smoothest wine I've had. I've had smoother wine. What was it? I can't remember the name of the wine, but I tried some Japanese get my words jumbled up. I tried some Japanese red wine previously. Was it Koshikibu? Oh man, I can't remember what the name of it was, but I tried some previously, and I gotta admit, I mean, like, this is the third red wine I've ever tried. But out of all the red wines I've tried, that has so far been the smoothest. The Koshikibu, I think it was Koshikibu, I might be wrong. But the red wine I tried from Japan was just very, very, very smooth as a whole, frankly put. And while, in my opinion, the 19 Crimes Cali Red, made in collaboration with Snoop Dogg, is quite smooth, I would have to say probably the second smoothest red wine I've had so far. It is not the smoothest by any means, but it is still very easy to drink, very easy to sip on, and just overall, in my opinion, a solid wine to kind of just sit back and relax and drink while you're sitting outside as the sun goes down, as I'm doing right now. Let's pour myself some more. I want some more, so I'm gonna pour myself some more, you know what I'm saying? How much more do I want? I'm gonna go full wine mom. Nah, if I want to go full wine mom, it's gotta be more than that. I love getting white woman wasted, you know what I'm saying? Not just white girl wasted, white woman wasted. That's what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get wasted like a soccer mom at 5 p.m. on a Thursday. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Only the biggest baller moves here, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, overall, just a solid sipper. Just a solid sipper. Yeah, just my overall impressions of the Snoop Dogg wine, of Snoop Dogg's wine. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing insane. Flavor profile-wise, it's just not the most interesting wine I've ever drank by any means. I would have to say the first ever red wine I drank, which I cannot remember the name of off the top of my head, but that was more interesting than this wine, if you ask me, kind of thing. It just had more depth of flavor profile. It was just more interesting tasting as a whole, just because there were undertones and there was depth to it. Whereas with this, I'm not really getting all that many undertones. There might be some. I need to sip some more, figure out what the taste is really like, of course. But it so far is just coming across being like, the taste you get is the taste you get, and there's not really that much more on offer after that. But just because this wine is like that certainly does not mean it's bad, because this is not a bad tasting wine. When I think of bad alcohol, I think, wow, it tastes bad. I think something like, let's say, Tito's. Tito's legitimately taste bad, in my personal opinion. This wine right here does not taste bad by any means. In fact, I'd say it's quite solid. It's nothing crazy, but it's quite solid, and it's definitely, in my opinion, above average, just compared to other wines I've had in general, whether they be red wines or not. And that 13.5% definitely be hitting. Definitely be hitting. 13.5% be hitting for sure. Yeah. I got a little bit of a buzz going. No question in my mind. So mouthfeel-wise, I would say this wine is that of a slightly sticky, chalky, which you wouldn't think would go together, but that's kind of what I'm getting. But the mouthfeel is kind of that of a slightly sticky, chalky, dry mouthfeel, in my personal opinion. This is definitely a semi-dry wine, if you ask me. And I would have to say, roughness and smoothness-wise, this is quite smooth. I would give it, with 1 being the roughest and 10 being the smoothest, I would give it a solid 6 to 7 out of 10. Probably more like a 7, in all honesty. And taste-wise, I would say it's that blueberry and blackberry up top. When I first took a sip, I was of the opinion that blackberry was at the very, very, very top. But in my opinion, now that I've kind of sipped on this wine a little bit more, it's more like blueberry at the top, kind of thing. It's more like blueberry at the very top. Under that, there's some blackberry. And under that, a little bit of that red grape, I would say. And then under that, is that bready flavor really in there? I don't know. I gotta sip more. I gotta sip more on not only this, but also on the wine. But overall, I mean, like, in my opinion, the Snoop Dogg Cali Red, or the 19 Crimes Cali Red made in collaboration with Snoop Dogg's wine. I mean, like, overall, not too bad. Not too bad, if I do say so myself. In fact, quite solid. And, it's making me want to try the Martha Stewart wine kind of thing. It's making me want to try the Martha Stewart wine. Martha Stewart, legendary convicted felon. She owns that. Martha Stewart is hilarious. Shout out Martha Stewart, yo. But Martha Stewart is hilarious. She owns the fact that she is a convicted felon. It's just hilarious, frankly put. But she owns it. She owns it. And if anything, I would say that was better for her whole brand than anything else. Like, it might have taken a hit initially, but like now, like, Martha Stewart is more of a legend than she ever was because she actually did prison time. Which is just hilarious because she's Martha Stewart. Did you all know she was not actually convicted of insider trading, though? Like, that's what they initially were trying to get her on, from what I can tell at least. But she was not actually convicted of insider trading. She was, I think, convicted of just covering up insider trading. Because I think she lied on the stand and stuff like that kind of thing. Which I mean, like, hey, Martha Stewart ain't no snitch, you know what I'm saying? She ain't no snitch. She went to prison because she wasn't snitching on nobody. That's what I'm saying. Yo, Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg's cooking show, genuinely so good. And I low-key need to read Snoop Dogg's cookbook eventually. You know, he's a well-known man. He's on the Martha Stewart cooking show. He did a bunch of episodes with Martha Stewart. He's got his own cookbook out, along with some other endeavors as well, kind of thing, such as some rap music that was, you know, pretty successful, I'll acknowledge. But Snoop Dogg, he's mainly known for being quite the cook these days, I will acknowledge. Yeah, this wine. It's very much out of a dark fruit sort of flavor. Just to describe the flavor overall, it's like dark fruits. What a surprise, it's a red wine. But I would say, I'm gonna have to sip on it more, figure out more. But what I can say is it's getting me a buzz. It's getting me a buzz. This 13.5% is no slacker. Excuse me. And this red wine is so easy to drink. It is not the smoothest red wine I've ever had, as said. The Japanese red wine I tried previously, which I think was named Koshikibu. I might be wrong. That red wine was so smooth, you could just sip on it so easily. This is really easy to sip on as well. It's just such an easy sipper, which I think is by design, of course. I don't think this wine is meant to be anything crazy. I don't think it's meant to be a wine for the connoisseurs who want to drink $1,000 bottle of wine or something like that kind of thing. I don't think this is a wine that is meant for the folks who are going to Total Wine and are buying specific years, specific vintages of specific wine because that's the best vintage. This is not a wine that is meant for individuals like that. This is a wine that is meant for casual alcohol enthusiasts like myself, and it's meant to be an easy sipper with a nice flavor, nothing too crazy, but it's just meant to be a nice sipper, and honestly, that's exactly what it is. And in that regard, I really do think that this wine really does, frankly put, do a very good job of being just a good wine, frankly put. This wine is nothing crazy, it's nothing insane, the flavor profile is not like, whoa, oh my god, I'm getting how much depth of flavor? It's just a nice flavor that you get. It's consistent, it's good, and it's good. And that's kind of what this wine is, frankly put. Overall, I gotta admit, solid wine, getting me a buzz. I'm getting my words all jumbled up because I am a little bit buzzed. I was getting my words all jumbled up before I was buzzing, now I'm getting my words all jumbled up. While I'm buzzed, I just can't talk today in general. But would I say Snoop Dogg's wine is solid? I would have to say, is pretty solid. To me, as a casual wine enjoyer, I would have to say it's a pretty solid wine. And I gotta say, I think it would be quite good if mixed in with some Coke, some Coca-Cola, not that other type, some Coca-Cola. I think it would be quite good if mixed in with some Coca-Cola, frankly. But I quite like my Bambus, my Calimotos. I think they're called that in some areas of the world. But red wine and Cokes are pretty good, in my personal opinion. I have quite liked them in the past. And I'm quite liking this red wine, and I think it would be a good pairing with some Coca-Cola, and maybe that's something I need to try in the future. I don't have any Coca-Cola with me today, but maybe at some point I'll have to try Snoop Dogg's wine with some Coca-Cola. Not exactly sure. Sounds like it could be a good time, though, I will acknowledge. Yeah. Very smooth, just nice, easygoing flavor. Yeah. That's a solid wine. Good sipper. Really easy to sip on. I wouldn't consider myself much of a wine person. Wine is not what I reach for on any regular basis. But this is solid. It's not going to get the best rating in the world, just because it's just nothing insane flavor-wise. But it's solid. This is, I would have to say, a good wine. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing amazing, but it's a good wine. Yeah. The 19 Crimes Cali Red, made in collaboration with Snoop Dogg. Solid if you ask me. Wine connoisseurs may disagree, but don't listen to no wine connoisseurs. You don't need to buy a $1,000 bottle of wine to enjoy drinking some wine. You just need a wine that you enjoy to enjoy drinking some wine. And I am enjoying drinking this today. Flavor overall, I would have to say, is that of a it's hard to say, because I feel like there's more going on than what I'm really tasting up front, but at the same time I feel like there isn't. It's hard to say. Flavor overall, as said, the mouthfeel is very much that of a dry, sweet, sticky, chalky mouthfeel. Smoothness is right around a 6 to 7 out of 10, right? More like a 7, I would have to say. It's like a 7 out of 10. And I would say the flavor itself is very much that of a dry, sweet, and sour flavor with undertones of blueberry, blackberry, red grapes, and I would say the slightest bit of a bready, sort of yeasty flavor, which is super mild. It's insanely mild. And those are the 4 flavors that are really coming to my mind as of this point in time. But is there anything actually going on? I've got one more sip of my glass left, and I'm pretty buzzed, so I think I'm gonna try to make this my last sip. Because if I don't want to drink so much I get a headache or anything like that kind of thing. With wine and stuff like that, if I drink too much, it's so sugary that it just gives me a headache. I don't want to go through that today. Personally, I don't feel like dealing with the headache for the rest of the night. So I'm going to try to make this my last sip. But is there really anything else going on? You know, with the smell, I said there was a little bit of chocolate. And I feel like there might be a little bit of bitter chocolate in there as well. I feel like there might be. But it's really not prominent, like, on your tongue. It's more prominent, like, when you take a sip and you're talking right afterwards. Like, it's kind of like the air coming off of the wine is kind of going over my taste buds, and that's when I'm tasting the sort of bitter, dark chocolate, but not really, like, actually when it's flowing over my tongue, which is odd, which is interesting. Excuse me. But yeah, overall, I would say the flavor of the 19 Crimes Cali Red, made in collaboration with Snoop Dogg, is overall that of a dark fruits, mildly sweet, dry flavor with undertones of blueberry, blackberry, a little bit of red grape, a little bit of a sort of yeasty sourdough bread, and the slightest bit of bitter dark chocolate. And that's very much what the flavor of this wine right here is actually like, if you ask me, at least. Yeah, overall, a solid wine, if I do say so myself. Mouthfeel, sort of sweet, sticky, dry, chalky, interesting. I quite like it, I'll acknowledge. I think overall, this would pair quite well with the Drew Estate Liga Privada, frankly put, because the Drew Estate Liga Privada has a sort of chalky sort of mouthfeel to it and just flavor to it in general as well, in my personal opinion. I think this would be a good pairing with that. And overall, it's just pretty good to have one of these while having some of this, if I do say so myself. But yeah, mouthfeel, sticky, sweet, dry, sort of chalky mouthfeel. And overall, smoothness-wise, roughness-smoothness-wise, I would say about a 7 out of 10. Yeah, easy to drink, good mouthfeel, good flavor. The flavor isn't anything crazy, but it's just a good flavor. And I'm going to have to say it, this is a good wine. I like this wine. I think it's good on its own. I think it would be good with some Coca-Cola as well. It's something I may have to try in the future. And overall, I've had a good experience today. What are my final thoughts on the 19 Crimes Cali Red, made in collaboration with Snoop Dogg? What are my final thoughts on it? Would I buy it again? Will I enjoy drinking the rest of the bottle? And did I enjoy this experience today? Would I buy it again? I would say if I wanted a bottle that I had already tried previously and a bottle that I just think is just really solid and is just good to drink, kind of just to chill with, yeah, I'd buy it again. $10.99, nothing crazy by any means. Good price. I would buy it again. I would buy it again, frankly put. I definitely buy this wine again. Will I enjoy drinking the rest of the bottle? I'd have to say I'm definitely going to. I'm definitely going to enjoy getting my money's worth out of the bottle. That is for sure. And did I enjoy this experience today? I'd have to say I certainly did as well. Overall, I think the rating I want to give the 19 Crimes Cali Red, I am going to have to give it a very solid 7 out of 10. I think a very solid 7 out of 10, which is a positive rating. I think a very solid 7 out of 10 is deserving for this beverage right here, for this wine right here. I think a 7 out of 10 is deserving for it. For context, I think the first ever wine I drank, the first ever red wine I drank, deserves like a solid like 8 out of 10. The Japanese red wine I tried, I think that's like a solid 6 out of 10 kind of thing, maybe like a 5 to 6 out of 10. And so this is like a solid 7, man. This is my number 2, like best red wine I've tried so far. Not best wine I've tried so far, but best red wine I've tried so far. This is like my number 2 out of the 3 I've tried. But this is like my number 2. Yeah, can't complain. 7 out of 10 for the 19 Crimes Cali Red wine. Yeah, can't complain. 7 out of 10, I will acknowledge. Yeah, I think that's just about all I had to say. So I think I'm going to go and end this video right here. Appreciate y'all watching today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching today's video, where I drank and reviewed the Snoop Dogg wine from Snoop Dogg himself. Appreciate y'all watching today's video. If you guys have enjoyed, like, subscribe. Check out everything in the description down below. Until the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace, and have a great one.